Welcome back to our ValueByte series, and we are going to get to talk with Dr. Nadia today. Very excited to chat about values and what matters most to business owners. And I know, Dr. Nadia, you're going to be able to fill us in on all things values. But first, tell us about yourself and really how you help businesses and owners.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, Randy. So a little about me. I'm a mom of one. I live in Phoenix and I don't do snow. So there's some fun facts about Nadia. And I would say how we get to help business owners is that I get to lead a sales agency, and we come in and partner with our clients in either removing them from the sole salesperson role if they're a founder and they're still in it. But we also get to support teams, because a lot of times between the sales, the marketing, and the customer service teams, while they should really work a lot more closely together, sometimes gaps happen and things fall through the cracks. And then companies aren't achieving or hitting their revenue goals and their revenue targets. And they're like, wait, what just happened? And so we get to come in and really help companies suss out what's going on. And then we get to fix it so that they can hit those goals. Everyone's happy and people are, working together a lot better. So just some of the things we get to do.
And I know one of the things that in previous experiences talking with you that really differentiates you is that y'all are great at learning how to invest in those people to really develop them into the sales role that they need to be. So what I always loved about that is you really can meet people where they're at as the owners, as their team, and really kind of identify, okay, what's the vision? How can we get closer? And so I think that's one of the reasons that we really were excited to talk to you, because, in our process of working with business owners, we spend time really like diving into their vision, where they're going, not just on the business side, but also a little bit on the personal. And it can be a tricky conversation to have because most owners haven't necessarily thought that far ahead of like what their vision is. And that affects everything. That affects the sales, that affects the marketing. So in your experience, how do you talk to owners about their vision?
Oh my gosh, it's actually one of my first questions, because I need to know. I'm like, I need to know where we're going, right?
Right.
What are we aiming for? Whether it's a revenue target, whether it's a personal goal. Like you said, a lot of times those things are interconnected, but I need to know the big vision. I want to know the big vision. I want to be bought into it. And I think a lot of times we as business leaders forget that our team needs to know where we're going, and it's not a one and done conversation. I think that's also a mistake we often make, is that I shared the vision 17 years ago. It's like, great. But things change with the vision. Sometimes we get off course. But I have found that when I share the vision personally with my team, they can also hold me accountable. And so the same is true when I'm working with clients. I need to know the vision so that I know that any ideas, suggestions, things that we're working towards is moving us in the direction that you want to go. There are a lot of things that we can do, but if it's not taking us where we want to go, then it's just, ultimately a waste of time. And so that is why I start with, what's the vision? What do you want to see, not only for the business, but also for you personally? And then how can we work together to get you there?
That's spot on. And I appreciate that so much. And also appreciate what you said about it's not a one-time conversation. It's not like, okay, we've got the vision, it's right there. It's definitely something that's ongoing. It grows, it evolves, it develops. And I think that's the beauty of it. And so my question to you would be, in your experience, how can owners use their vision to keep themselves focused and moving forward?
One, write the vision down, right? Like writing. I'm going to tell this story. I'm telling my husband. He's heard this before.
Okay.
He knows I rat him out sometimes. This was years ago. He's gotten better. But we used to have these annual review meetings, and we would do goal setting at the beginning of the year. Here are some of the goals and things we want to do in these different areas of our lives, whether it's physical, financial, spiritual, whatever, right? And I remember towards the end of one year, he calls me frantic. He's like, babe, where are my goals? So I'm like, I already know that you didn't hit any of these goals for this year because you haven't looked at them since we had this conversation in January. And I think it's the same is true for us as business owners. Like if we don't write it down, if we're not intentional about revisiting the vision, whether it's daily, weekly, quarterly, like really, how do we know? How do we know that we're on track? Like your GPS does not talk to you every 27 minutes. Like there's a constant update or even a visual of where you're going. So even like when you take longer road trips, and she's like, for the next 257 miles, keep straight, you still have that visual and that accountability that you're getting closer. And then if you get off track, there's something to say that. And the same is true for your vision. Are you writing it down? If you do a vision board, is the vision board visible, or did you just stick it away somewhere because that task is done, check, and we move on to the next? And then again, how can you share that with your team? And I will add this to Randi, because I think this is a big one for us, is giving your team permission to check you respectfully, kindly, right? Like not to be out of control, but to be able to say, you know what, Nadia, is that really in a line? Like, did something change with the vision? Because what we're doing right now doesn't seem like it's taking us where we want to go. So empowering those around you to call you out when you get what I call squirrel swirl, because you're off with shiny object syndrome. Like you're just doing all the things, but it's not moving you, in the direction you want to go.
Yes, and it really has the power to be that checks and balance. And I appreciate that so much, this idea of allowing, inviting, encouraging your people to ask that question. Does this align with our vision?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to answer that, because maybe the answer is maybe the vision has changed or evolved, and that's okay too, but it shouldn't change or evolve in this 1 minute standing meeting. It should, right? It should have a little bit more thought behind it. And so the simple questions, I can totally see having the power for your team to help be that anchor, that guidepost, and be a part of the conversation and a part of that checks and balances. It can be really powerful.
Absolutely.
Where do you think that, and where have you seen owners getting in their own way because they don't have a clear vision?
It looks like just trying everything.
That squirrel that you
Yes, we were trying. And I remember I recently supported a client event. And so just having conversations with some of the event attendees. And one of the attendees shared with me, she's like, I've been investing when all these different programs are working with these different countries, coaches, because I'm just trying to solve for this problem. And I always feel like, oh, this is the answer. And I think that that's one of the pitfalls of not having a clear vision, because you are always looking to solve one problem in the business. So it could be a sales or revenue problem that it's appearing as like we're not hitting our revenue targets, or cash flow is wonky. But taking that step back and saying, is that the only thing here that's at play? Because there's so many things that can impact that. And again, when we don't know our vision, it's easy to get tunnel vision and only look at the symptoms of what's happening. Like, oh, wait, this month cash flow is kind of wonky. Let me go invest here, versus, wait a second, let's look at where we're wanting to go. Let's take a step back, because it may be that cash flow is going to be wonky, and that is part of the process because of where you're going. Because sometimes when you make a business pivot, you do sometimes often see a cash flow dip. It doesn't mean the business is going under, it's just temporary and you're fine. But sometimes when we get in those uncomfortable places, we freak out and we're like, oh, we gotta fix it. And so again, I think that that's probably where I see a big issue with business owners when they're not focused on the vision, is that then we start investing and we're just trying to fix symptoms. We're popping Tylenol, if you will, but it's not getting to the root of the issue because we're not focused on the vision.
We see that all the time, and it really creates this more reactive and missed opportunity. And then it's kind of for us in the marketing world where we get the, well, I've done that and it doesn't work mentality.
Oh, and if I had $1 for every time.
Right. It was like, okay, well, let's talk about that for a little bit. And, absolutely, like, sometimes things don't work, and sometimes cash flows down, and there is a problem, and we want to address those things, but also there's going to be changes as your business is evolving and growing, and you're moving towards hopefully your vision, but you got to know what that is first. So 100% we experience that as well. Can you think of a time or an example or a story where you really felt how and saw how the owner connecting with their own vision allowed them to maybe break through or even stick to the strategy, where they had that aha moment and they didn't do the squirrel swirl, as you call
Yes.
it?
Oh my gosh, yes. I had this client several years ago who, when she hired me at the time, she was doing $50 sessions with people, 1 hour. And she had this big vision to not only hit 100,000 in revenue, but to obviously grow and grow beyond that. So again, vision, part of her vision was to have more time with her daughter, to spend more
Beautiful.
time with her husband, to do things and to travel. And I'm like, girl, you can't do that doing these $50 sessions. I
Right.
love you and we got to fix this. And so when she really connected to that, when I told her that the $50 sessions were going away, she was only going to have one offer, which is really hard for us as visionaries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but to just stick with it, to have this particular offer, to stick with it over a certain amount of time, and then we can launch some multiple offers and have different price points. She stuck with that for a little over a year, her single offer. When she did launch an actual group type program, she had a 6-figure launch. So in 2.5 years, she went from not being at 100K a year to now bringing in nearly $450,000 in revenue, not sales, revenue. And now
Mm-hmm.
she's able to spend more time with her family, took them on a trip to France. Like, it was amazing, but she had to trust me and really tune into the vision of
Mm-hmm.
what was possible. And we were able to achieve it in not that much time. Like, that doesn't always happen, but man, that was phenomenal to be a part of and to witness.
That is such a great story of how being able to identify her vision of freedom and family, that's really the vision. It's not
Mhm.
coaching sessions at $50, right?
Right.
That it allowed her to stay accountable and continue on the path, because she knew this is what I want, and the only way to get there is by focusing on your profit at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that really kind of segues in. So one of the things that we work with folks is, after we have identified their vision, we talk about what they value as an
Mhm.
organization. And it'd be so interesting to talk to that owner, talk to her, because I'm wondering if, in the beginning, if you're doing these like coaching sessions or doing these like lower profit things, there's oftentimes, because you want to have like this impact and you care a lot about the impact, and that's all important. But in order to get to your vision, her profit probably
Yes.
became more of what she valued. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean you're not going to still serve and have the impact and have these other offerings. When I first started my business, it was to fill a gap for small business owners that couldn't afford marketing, right? And
Mhm.
kind of shifted then to now being able to provide like full strategies for B2B owners, because my vision, right, is to build a business that I can exit. And
Yep.
so I'm not going to be able to get there with the things that aren't profit focused for me. So
Yep.
totally
Absolutely.
resonate with that. And we have those conversations with our clients all the time, where it's like, well, I think maybe what you think you value is not actually what you value as an
Mhm.
owner. And so I imagine that she thought she valued something different than profit, and it's actually profit for her. And that's
That's
okay.
true.
Profit
And there's
first is
always
totally fine.
and there's ways to fill the gap, kinda. Like, there's ways
Yeah,
to still give back. And so I work with clients because a lot of
100%.
them do have that, similar to you, right? They're like, I want to fill this gap. I want to fill this need. My people need me. I've even been there, like, but these people need me. And I had an
Yeah.
advisor one time and was like, Nadia, these people will always need someone. Like, You gotta focus. Right? Like, but right. And so for her, what we did is we just limited, well, one, we did increase the price of the one-on-one sessions. We did.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we also built it in that once a year, like towards the holidays, she had like 10 of those sessions that she would do. And
Perfect.
then,
Beautiful.
so it was still there, it was still part of it, but like you said, her vision and her focus really did shift to, wait a second,
Mm.
I can have a bigger impact. There are still things that I can do to reach these people. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to impact my profit in the same way that a $50 session only model would, right? And so totally being able to
Absolutely.
have that built in.
I love that story. So, what advice would you give to folks, to owners that are maybe struggling with balancing their emotions around their vision? So, they have this vision for their business, and the fundamentals required to get them there, right, are maybe daunting or different. And the story that you told, it really is someone that was able to persevere and like stay on the path, but there's emotion that comes with that path. So what advice would you give to your clients to help them balance that as they're staying connected and working towards that vision?
Ooh, okay. So I will base, well, there's two things. One is trust the process, right? Like just
Yeah.
trust that it is a process and you will get there. Almost like taking a road trip, an extended one. Another thing I would say is what they told us when I was working on my dissertation. How do you eat an elephant? Is one bite at a time. It's literally taking one step at a time and moving toward that vision and accomplishing those goals. And I think one of the things that causes us to rush and want to microwave our visions is social media, is, being exposed to so many different stories and highlight reels and, I shoulda, woulda, couldas, we having those stories. And so what I would advise people is get surround yourself. It doesn't have to be a ton of people, but have your trusted advisors, those people in your corner, whether it's a coach, whether it's
Mhm.
people on your team, whether it's your spouse, a good girlfriend, to be like, you know what? I need you to stay focused because you do have emotions. So having a way to get those emotions out. So I have good friends that I can call and I'm like, I'm having a moment, talk me off the ledge, right? And it's like, let me get it all out. And then they're like, okay, are you done? Yes. Okay, great. Now, here's, where you want to focus. Here's your vision. Here's why you're doing this. When I
Mm.
was writing my second book that I did, and I had a writing buddy. We were both publishing our books around the same time. And there were a constant back and forth. Both of us are like, why are we doing this again? And why is this so hard? And why is Amazon being so difficult? Like because you run into roadblocks and things aren't working and oh crap, and so having that person that gets it, that you can just vent and they're like, this is why you're doing this. No, you're not going to quit. Yes, you will be publishing this book. Stay focused, stay on course. And it's like, okay, you're right. Okay, gotta go back to writing, that sort of thing,
Absolutely.
and it just keeps you focused. So we do need those emotional outlets, and I think we do ourselves a disservice when we don't prepare for that, right? We're excited about the plan. It's like the beginning of the road trip, right? You're excited, you have your snacks, you got the map, and you're like, and then you hit traffic, and you're like, nope, you're gonna run into roadblocks along the way. So think ahead of how am I going to account for emotion, but then also, how am I going to care for myself with this? So even having a self-care practice.
Mm.
I tell some of my clients, have your no playlist. Like what are the songs you're going to play when you don't get the sale and you're
Mhm.
disappointed because it's going to happen. I can guarantee it's going to happen. So be prepared in how you're going to deal with that. You dance it out and you keep moving.
Wise words. I think that is such great advice. Just accept that it's gonna happen. It's gonna be part of the roadmap. It just is.
Mhm.
And so plan for it, prepare for it, know what works for you, for the emotional outlet. That is
Absolutely.
very wise words. And I can relate to that just on my own personal owner journey, right? Where you've got to have those folks around you that know your vision and know what you're working towards, so that when you maybe are trying to go off track, whether it be for something good, bad, or ugly, like, it can be going off track for good things too. You're there
Mm-hmm.
to go, hey, wait, hold on. Shouldn't you finish that book first? Shouldn't you finish
Right.
that, XYZ project first to get you closer to the vision? So such phenomenal advice. I am so grateful for your time, Dr. Nadia. I know that folks listening into this Value Bite feel the same way. And if they want more insights, expertise, just more of you, where can they connect with you to learn more?
Oh, great. You can visit our website at thedoyenneagency.com, or you can head over to our podcast at Straight Talk About Sales. And yep, that's at straighttalkaboutsales.com.
Awesome. Well, I'll be excited to listen in to your next podcast on Straight Talk About Sales. And until then, thanks again, Dr. Nadia.
Thanks for having me.